You're listening to Flush Your Fat for Good with Jackie and Dr. Vicky, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hi, thanks for joining us. My name is Jackie Paget Baird.
And I'm Dr. Vicky Arcady.
And our lifestyle for a lifetime is Flush Your Fat for Good, be lean and healthy for life. And we're excited that you've joined us today. And every day that we are doing these podcasts and we're on conference calls and we're in the, we have a website called flushyourfatforgood.com. We also have a private Facebook page that you're more than welcome to join. Look for us at Flush Your Fat for Good Buddies in the private Facebook room. You have to answer a few questions and then you're let in. But we want to be like the hub of knowledge for all of you. So it's like, we always say, God, you learn something new every day, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, you
want to. You want to learn something new every day.
Every day when you're working on your computer, I bet you learn something new every day.
Absolutely.
You know what? But that's the way we want it to be. When you guys watch us, when you listen to us, when you see what we're doing, when we post something in the Facebook room, when we place something in our articles every week in the website, on our website, we want you to learn something about how to survive on this alien planet. The reason why I say alien planet is because America now, we're in 5 different countries at this point, but we're gearing what we see in our country, because as America goes, then goes the rest of the world. However, I see that we are now number 1 in obesity. They call it globesity now.
In the world.
In the world.
Number 1 in the world.
And number 2 is the leading cause of death is type 2 diabetes. That's unacceptable. It used to be heart disease, then cancer, and we talked about this last week. But when we do our podcast, we want to make sure we leave you guys with an increase. We teach you something that can help you to survive better, to make better choices. That's one of the reasons why we wrote our book, Flush Your Fat for Good, Be Lean and Healthy for Life, because this is 60 combined years of Dr. Vicky and myself knowledge that we put in to not only cover how to lose rapid, safe fat loss, how not to crave foods, especially your bad foods, how not to be always hungry, how to have better moods, how to think sharper, how to sleep deeper.
Yep.
One of our big things that we focus on throughout this entire lifestyle is have optimal digestion, absorption, and elimination. And of course, it's about rapid, safe fat loss. And then at that point, we take you into what's called phase 1 to phase 2, and you learn the whole lifestyle until the day you take your last breath. So you never have to struggle again. Everybody is struggling all the time. And they try different things. Everybody's always trying, I don't know, it's the Pritikin, the Atkins, the paleo, the what's the other one, keto, all these different kinds of things. Why? Because they know they have to. Why? Because they don't like the way they look. Why? Because they don't like the way they feel. Why? Because their doctor said, dude, you're not going to make it if you don't get that weight off. In fact, we just had that one woman, she was smoking. She quit smoking mainly because she had a heart attack.
Right.
And then, of course, she quit smoking because smoking is going to it numbs your taste buds and it destroys your appetite. But
kills your heart.
Yeah, on top of that. But she gained 25 pounds. So, her main concern was, okay, first of all, I quit the smoking because that's what induced the heart attack. And now I've gained 25 pounds, which sets me up for another heart attack. Right?
Right.
And so now she has a real serious purpose about losing fat. They call weight. We don't want you to lose weight. We want you to lose fat. So you have to use your common sense. because you're going to try all these different things, and some of them will work, but will they work forever? Because when you lose the weight, what happens when you stop doing that specific program?
And, people want it the easy way out. So you have your packaged foods.
Right.
You have substitute bars, or you substitute like Slim Fast or whatever.
Yeah, drinks.
The drinks for your meals, and you only get, a couple hundred calories out of that, and then you should really have a lot more than that per meal. And, what you're missing is the lifestyle, because when you do these fad diets or these trendy diets to lose the weight that are easy, it doesn't maintain you. It's not long term, and you cannot fit that into your lifestyle. It's just not sustainable.
Well, and that's what happens. People wind up doing, they lose it, and really you lose your 50% bone and muscle, and then of course when you stop the program, then you gain it all back and then some, but you didn't gain back your lean muscle mass and your bone density. So therefore, the title of this podcast is Throw Your Scale Away Because It's a Big Fat Liar. And I know we have some buddies. We call everybody buddies in our Flush Your Fat for Good lifestyle, because we all are buddies. We help each other. We support each other. We coach each other. We have over 100 coaches on our Facebook page to help y'all with questions and answers. But the thing is, we want you to stay in a healthy way. We want you to lose the fat, not the bone and muscle, because when you gain it all back, you're not going to gain that bone and muscle back again. So therefore, Dr. Vicki is going to do, did you know that, about what?
About, calorie restriction and losing. What are you really losing? What are you losing besides fat? You will lose some fat, but what else are you losing?
Right, and that's why I said, all you scaleaholics, listen up.
And the scale is just, is an indication of weight. And everything in your body, on your body, your skin weighs a lot. I mean, your bones weigh probably the most. And your organs, hopefully they have lean muscle mass, and your muscles weigh a lot. So you're going to see all that on the scale. But it's not really, when you get on the scale, it's not an indication of how healthy or how the mineralization or how dense your bones are, how much lean muscle mass is there, or, and fat we know weighs very little. So I'm going to have our friend and our engineer Sam put up
the
slide.
Man.
Yeah.
I like calling him.
Thank you, Sam. Put slide number 1, please. And in this photo, you'll see what's called a DEXA scan, and they call it DXA scan. And what it is like a tube. You can see it, but you lay there, and it will read layer by layer, slice by slice, all the way down your body, the lean muscle mass values, bone density, and the fat. And it'll tell you what the composition of your body is. Now, we're all used to, and it's still being used, is body mass index, BMI. But it's really, you need to know that term, because that's what is mostly used still. But it's really your body composition that we're looking at. We want to know fat, muscle, and bone. So the DEXA scan will accurately, pretty good, next to a CAT scan, it's probably your best bet. The CAT scan would be better, but no one's going to go get a CAT scan for that. No. So, that's where you're going to see, the real values. So Sam, slide number 2, please. In these two photos, you'll see, or this photo, you'll see on the left, you're going to see a obese person, and then on the right, someone who's toned. They both have the same body mass index. They both have the same. It doesn't matter, you know, that's why the body mass index is not accurate. It should be body composition, because you really want to know what the lean muscle mass is and the bone density.
But you're still seeing that written in the studies and talked about on just about every website.
Well, the doctors, they still use it.
Right.
And it's, you need to know that, you need to know body mass index, because that's what's
what's
the
talked
term
about.
that's
Yeah.
used.
But just now, because did you know that, we're getting you up to date on a new terminology,
Right.
which is body composition.
Yeah. So I decided to try to find some studies that will validate what we say. We say that if you restrict your diet and you don't eat enough, you will lose your bone density and your lean muscle mass. Pretty much any kind of diet, you're going to lose fat. I mean, that's a given. You're going to lose fat. But what we want to do is spare the muscle and spare the bone and
Right.
rebuild the bone. So I took some studies, one of which is from the Annual Review of Nutrition 2012. The title is Bone Metabolism in Obesity and Weight Loss. And apparently bone loss is very, the bone integrity is very important in the medical world, because you have a lot of, you know, accidents, you have falls, you have bones that break, and initially they were saying in here is that when you're obese, it makes more sense that you should have better bone density, because you're heavier and you're on your feet, and gravity, and there's more stress on the bone. But that's not what happens. They find that if you're obese, your bone density is compromised and your bone mineralization is compromised. And with the calorie restriction, you increase your fracture risk. And these are all regulated, they found, by endocrine factors, which we talk about a lot, and the effects, indirect effects on bone and calcium absorption. And one of the things it says here is weight reduction will decrease bone mass and mineral density, but this varies, of course, with age, individuals' age, gender, and adiposity. I have 2 studies to talk about tonight. Neither one of these studies talk about digestion, absorption, and elimination with regard to bone health, bone density, muscle mass. And we know as a fact, it's scientific, it's physiology. If you are not digesting well, you're not going to get your bone density.
You're not absorbing.
You're not going to have bone density, because
No.
calcium and the minerals are very hard to digest anyway. And if your digestion isn't working, you're not going to have bone density improve. You're going to have osteoporosis. And I think somewhere in here it says 55% of the population over 55% of the population over 50 years of age have osteoporosis.
Really?
But they don't mention digestion, absorption, elimination. To absorb your calcium, your minerals, and your proteins, you need to have good enzyme activity in your gut, and good digestion health, good optimal digestion. And nobody talks about that. And they call osteoporosis as the silent disease.
Wow.
Yeah, because it contrasts the highest visibility of obesity, they say. And with normal aging, you're not supposed to get osteoporotic. It says right here, osteoporosis is not considered to be a part of normal aging.
But 55%
Of individuals
of people over
of
50.
50 in the United States are osteoporotic.
Okay, that's unacceptable.
So, body weight, they are claiming, is directly related to bone mineral density, which is, how the minerals and get into your bones are made of calcium and minerals. So, they're calling the term bone mineral density, and what they're saying is there's greater bone loss in elderly, of course, because you become more sedentary, but the high body weight can reduce your physical activity or obesity, and both will decrease your basal metabolic or bone metabolic density.
I would think also the older you get, the less you're digesting and
Bone mineral
absorbing.
density, sorry.
Bone mineral?
Yeah.
Bone mineralization? Is that what it's called?
Bone mineral density.
Oh, BMD.
So they say that the excessive weight predisposes you to bone and fracture risk.
Mm-hmm.
And the weight reduction is recommended to help you with the obesity issues like diabetes, heart disease, cancer, but it also induces bone loss if you use a calorie restricted diet. So you've got to do it the right way. You've got to understand how this works. And so the other thing I want to say is that your hormones, they talk about hormones in here and how those are affected, but that your insulin, your pancreatic hormones, your estrogen, and your parathyroid hormone, which regulates your calcium,
Right.
all the estrogen goes up in obesity, which is how you women can get cancers, and the insulin, we know you get insulin resistant. We did a whole podcast on that. And then the parathyroid hormone, which is what they're saying is your bone density will be affected. So with the obesity. So Sam, could you please put up slide number 3? He's so good,
Isn't he good?
Okay. Slide number 3. Not that you need to know this, but I just thought it might be interesting for you. It was kind of alarming to me that they are so aware of this issue in obesity that there is severe fracture risk you can see in the drawing there, in the lumbar spine if you're obese, the humerus, which is this bone, radius and ulna, the wrist bones, and your ankle. So there's fracture risk. And there's higher fractures of your arm due to obesity found in women, but not in the men. It's higher in women.
Of what?
This bone, the humerus.
The humerus?
Yeah, fracturing.
Why is that? Maybe the testosterone in the muscles for the men?
I think men lift more.
Yeah.
They probably lift more even if they're obese, and they use their strength and yeah, probably something like that. I'm not sure why. It doesn't say why, so I don't want to postulate.
You know what's fascinating about this? Everybody wants to lose weight because they want to look good, but they have no idea the damage that's being done to them when they are overweight, when they're over fat, when they're obese, or not even that obese.
Yeah. So, if you get on the scale and you're practically starving or you're hungry all the time and you've restricted your calories severely, they call it in here reducing your energy input or something like that, they call it. You're going to lose on the scale, but what are you losing?
Right.
That's the whole point of this subject is what are you losing? They said here a weight loss of 10% would have a positive effect on the risks of obesity, but it also results in a 1 to 2% bone loss at the hip. Oh yeah, I forgot to say the hip. Hip fractures, which is very common.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very common.
It's common in the older people.
Common in older people, but they all, it's also known that the hip does not fracture after the fall. The hip fractures first, and then you fall.
Oh, right.
You see, because because of the anatomy of that hip, it's a little. Anyway, it's got a neck on it, with ball and socket into the hip, and
that's horrifying, though.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
No, stop for a minute. The thought of you're walking around, you're doing nothing, you're in the kitchen maybe, or you're getting out of the shower.
Or you pivot, you twist, and boom.
And boom, you have a fracture. Yep. You think you fell, and then you got the fracture. This is a fracture that you don't know is coming. and that's what makes you fall.
Right. So a 10% loss in your weight could result in a 1 to 2% bone loss at the hip, and 3 to 4% loss as into the into the hip, but also into the radius right here, the thumb side, the radius of your wrist. So let's see. They said, very low energy diet. They call it calorie restricted. They said people who rapidly lost 15% of their body weight did. Let's see. They showed just as much as a weight loss. I mean, a bone loss. So that is, that's what we want to avoid. And bone remodeling, by the way, requires a minimum of 4 to 6 months, and they continue for 1 to 2 years.
Bone remodeling? I like that name.
Bone remodeling, that's a term used to build your bone density.
Right.
Yes. So factors leading to the bone loss are hormones, bone regulating hormones on the calorie restricted diet that have to do with weight reduction. It decreases your circulating estrogen and sex hormones, and that's going to cause you to lose bone density when you're on a rapid calorie restricted diet. And sex hormones will be affected also. And then the osteoblastic or osteoclastic activity, which is for the bone mechanism, is affected. So we all know that if your estrogen goes down, you're going to lose your bone. So let's see.
And men have estrogen too.
Yes, they do. So let's see. Let's do slide number 4, I think it is. Slide number 4 is showing that when you're overweight, actually when you're on a calorie, you can see other factors altered by calorie restricted in the heading underneath may affect bone metabolism. But when you're on a calorie restricted diet, your weight bearing decreases because you're losing weight so quickly. Your hormones decrease on the right. You'll see estrogen, cortisol goes up, which gives you what?
Tummy fat.
Fat.
Yeah.
Calcium absorption goes down because you're affecting direct through the hormones and the parathyroid and everything. You're directly affecting calcium absorption. On the left side, calcium intake is reduced because it's calorie restricted.
Right.
Very important to have your calcium.
Yeah.
And then they have growth factors here, which indicates in the middle, it all converges in the middle to loss of bone mass. And then you can see they really did some work with all the other, this is a serious study that they show all the mechanisms, which I'm not going to go over, they're too technical, these terms. But it's very serious how calorie restricted is can be so dangerous.
You're right.
Now, let me just read something about protein, which is what we recommend. We do a lot of protein.
Well, and before you say that, that's what I wanted to say. The reason why you're learning all of this, because this is how serious we take Flush Your Fat for Good, Be Lean and Healthy for Life. We have written a lot of this information in the book, but you have to know that if you're out there just trying to do a diet and it doesn't work, or you're just going to do it for short term and then it's going to come back and then you're going to do another one and another one, everything that you're hearing right now, this is the dangers you're putting yourself through.
And piggybacking on that, in this study, it says how when you do that and you gain and lose, you'll lose your bone, like we've demonstrated with this study.
Right.
You'll lose your bone, you'll lose your lean muscle mass, you'll lose your fat. But when you gain back, you don't get your lean muscle mass back, you don't get your bone back, you get more fat.
Yeah.
It talks about that in this. And just a note on protein in here. It says the positive effect of higher protein intake on bone has been established in several epidemiological and clinical studies. A higher protein weight loss diet may preserve bone mass during caloric restriction, but by various mechanisms, but it's not going to help, it may, if you have exercise, they're saying with it, which is one of our pillars.
Right.
We cover all these bases. They say if you do exercise, it may help, but the higher protein intake is what protects you from that bone loss. And so you have to do the whole thing. You have to do a lifestyle. You can't just do one thing. So let me just go into this other study real quick. There's a couple things I want to talk about, which they were talking about. This is a study from 2017 in Medical Science Sports Exercise journal, and this was in January of 2017. Effects of weight loss on lean muscle mass, strength, bone, and aerobic capacity. In this study, they talk about, I'll just read the conclusion here because I already went through some of the other stuff that they repeat, but they use the DEXA scan here to do the values, to calculate the values and do the documentation. But the conclusions were modest caloric restriction induced weight loss in overweight sedentary adults decreases whole body and lower extremity lean muscle mass, suggesting skeletal muscle atrophy, which means declining of your osteoporosis. Mm-hmm. You're losing your bone mineral density, and reduces absolute aerobic capacity. That's your
lungs,
your breathing, your lungs, your heart, suggesting catabolic activity on the cardiovascular system. Catabolic means decline or eating up, catabolism. You're gonna reverse your mass. You're gonna reverse your heart mass. You're gonna reverse your your body.
It's like cannibalizing.
Exactly. The calorie restricted diet decreases lean muscle and aerobic capacity, which are physiological changes.
So,
and one more thing: preservation of lean. They said here, if you include exercise with a high protein diet, but see, they don't ever mention digestion.
Right.
Because this doesn't have to be so severe. And so, what is it? What's the word? So dramatic.
Radical.
Radical.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way because they said here, if you can do some little exercise, you can prevent the lean muscle mass declining and still maintain your weight loss, and have your bone density.
Yeah, but nobody knows how to do this.
Right. So basically, we just want it, just because we say it in our book. We do have references and studies, I think, in the back, but we wanted to really say to you, throw your scale away, because if you can just, if you starve yourself to death, which I used to do for the day, and then you get on the scale the next day and you're 2 pounds lighter or 5 pounds lighter, that's not really, fat weighs nothing, and you're doing some damage. You've catabolized your muscle. You've cannibalized your muscle,
and you've lost your fluids. Because sometimes you lose your body water.
Because if you're not eating enough, which we recommend, and I put something in the room about. There's also something in here about your strength. You lose your strength. You see these the elderly. They can't, and even obese people, they lose their strength because of all of the above that we mentioned, but they also lose their strength. But what you have to do is you have to maintain enough food in your body, but the right foods. And that's what we do in our book. We teach you how to do this so you can eat as much as you want, eat the good foods, and build yourself up and prevent that from happening.
And you know how many times she just said digestion, absorption, and elimination? Nobody talks about that. That's something that is just, it's massive.
Nobody talks about
intention with our lifestyle. And I even got a text today from, shout out to Dr. Ann Hill. She wanted
Hey, Dr. Ann.
Yeah, she's doing great. And she was asking me a question. This is the great thing when you guys come on board with us, especially if you go into the Facebook room. You're going to have the opportunity to ask us questions to, maybe you heard something the other day about something, or maybe something's happening with your own progress. You need help. You just ask, and one of our coaches, and we're on there all the time, we're going to just get back to you, because this is it's a journey. It's a work in progress. The reason why we're saying
it's a community.
Well,
neighborhood.
I regress. Dr. Ann wanted to know about, do the men eat more protein than the women? And really, there is no counting.
Mm-mm.
There is no checking your milligram count, checking
brain.
How much weight is the meat that you're going to eat. Flush Your Fat for Good trains the brain.
Exactly.
And what the body requires and needs, if you're feeding it properly, this is what blows everybody's mind, because after 72 hours, they don't even want sugar. They don't miss their starches, and they start craving things that are good for them.
Right.
And and after a while, after phase 1, you go into phase 2, and people go back and forth on phase 1, phase 2. Some people just love phase 1 and stay there. But your brain starts telling you, you know what, I feel like some heavy protein right now. I feel like a
Jackie,
steak.
Eat more protein.
Right.
More protein, more friend.
It's
like you get an impulse,
Well,
that's
you
the
feel
brain.
it's like, I feel like a steak. I
Yes.
feel like protein. I feel like chicken. I feel like fish. And in phase 2, you go, today I feel like I want to add some starch, sprouted
Yeah.
whole grains, things like that.
And it's like, even when we all do this every day. Even when you're taking food, you're having your dinner or whatever, and you're taking it out of the dish or the pan, and you're putting it in your plate. Your brain tells you when to stop. You just go, God, I need more today,
Or that's enough.
Or gosh, I only want a spoonful
Or have you ever
today.
done this? Have you ever gone into the kitchen, you're not quite sure, and you go to reach for something, you go, no, I don't really want that.
No.
And then you think, what do I want? I think I need some protein. The thing I want to mention is, this is not about pounds.
No.
It's about inches. And we do have in the workbook, when you go into our storefront on the website, Flush Your Fat for Good, go into the store and you will see the workbook. You'll see our book here. And also you'll be able to see Starter Kit 1 and Starter Kit 2, which helps you to get started with not only the GLA, CLA, but charts, and also our workbook. But what you're going to learn is you can measure yourself. There's a chart in the back of the workbook.
I think it's in here too.
Yeah. But it's easier because you can write on this.
Yeah.
But you measure all different parts of some people measure their necks and around their jaws, and some people measure their feet, their ankles, wherever they're gaining their weight. But also, some people don't want to measure. Some people are not into the measuring. What really does it for them is that, like with Dr. Ann, she went from a 3X down to a 1X. We have people they were in size 16 and they're now in an 8 or a 4.
Yeah, and
your clothes start hanging off of you.
Right, or like in your case, you got up out of bed and her pajamas fell off.
That's a good measurement.
That's a good measurement. But it's what's really fun is since we released the book or published the book, it's on Amazon.com, so you can just type in the search box Flush Your Fat for Good and it'll come up. But we just had someone from the UK who bought 3 of the books, right? What did she do? She bought 2 of the books.
What she did, and she's great.
And it's fun to see people in other countries.
Right, and she said, do you have any coaches in the UK? I hope she's watching. And
we do.
She said, we do. We have a few. And she said
Coach
she's been on this lifestyle for 2 years. She loves it. And she said she's gotten 3 other people on the lifestyle, and she's excited about our coaching course. Now, we have a coaching course, which we want to do a big shout out to Coach Karen Poza.
Yay.
because she passed our coaching course. And we always like to, either they come on the Facebook room and they say, hey, I just passed the coaching course, or we find out and then we congratulate them.
She's been one of our coaches for years, but now we have a new coaching course which has more of the latest information and things that we've learned over the years, and so we put it into a updated. So she has recertified herself.
Right, recertified. And with Dr. Vicki, you have to go every year, right? And you have to
get
recertify.
For crying out loud, I have to take 24 hours of relicensing credits every year.
X-ray,
X-ray, ethics, nutrition, and something else.
Subluxation.
Oh no, adjusting technique.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to do. It makes sense. You have to
You have to stay up.
You have to keep your chops up,
Right.
as you would say.
Not only that, but there's so much that we know that you can't just put it all in one place or in one study or in one coaching course, which we did, because there's more that we're learning and more that we're experiencing with this lifestyle. Now approximately 3,000 people have been doing this lifestyle.
Yes.
And we're learning from them even more so.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're learning is very exciting, because the ones that were really drinking their meals or eating their bars or starving themselves, and they had issues. The first issues they got was, number one, they gained more weight. Second of all, they had horrible bowel movements. They really messed up their digestive system.
Yeah, no mention of poop in these two
No.
studies.
No.
Nothing about poop.
Which is ridiculous. And because it's our favorite subject.
Well, it tells everything.
It's the pipes of life. Come on.
If people can't lose the weight, we know it's their poop. They're not pooping.
Right.
Or
they say, I'm just not hungry when they first get started.
Right.
And they have to eat a lot. You have to eat a lot. The food is like kindling on the fire. It stokes the fire to burn the fat, right? So, and they go, I just can't eat that much. There's a lot to eat. And we say, okay, the next question is, how many bowel movements do you have?
Right.
And at that point, maybe one. Now, of course,
one every couple days.
how are you going to be hungry if you don't eliminate what you've already put in there? On top of that, your body's telling you, look, don't shove any more food down here. I can't get it out.
If any of you have had any experience with babies, you know not to change the diaper right when you're feeding the baby, because they're going to poop right afterwards. So you just keep that dirty diaper going if they're eating the bottle, and they poop in there, and now you've saved yourself a diaper change, because every time, at least 3 times a day the baby poops. At least 3, 4, maybe 5 for a baby, because they are absorbing, and eliminating. And their cells are replicating so quickly. But in our adults, we know that they're not. I've been asking this question on my intake forms since 1986. But how many times do you poop a day? And they're like, what?
Right. And we don't care who you are. We're going to ask it. Because it's about your health. Be lean and healthy for life.
How many times do you poop per day?
Right. And the men are like, well, I don't know. The women
kidding.
are like, well,
you're really asking this?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm asking this.
And very few doctors will, or very few health lifestyle diets will. So again, I want to emphasize, it's not about pounds, it's about inches.
Throw the scale away.
You scaleaholics out there,
you don't need it.
When you first start Flush Your Fat for Good, it's okay. Step on the scale, get it off your chest, just do it, mark it down, but also measure yourself, okay? And it's a good idea to measure yourself, because you're going to lose fat in many different areas. When you go into this lifestyle, you're going to go into nutritional ketosis. At that point, your body's going to look all over your body for fat to burn. And sometimes you're going to notice that your arms have gone down, or your legs have gone down, or your hips have gone down before your legs or your arms. The thing is, measuring is a great way to see success or progression.
Yeah.
But you don't have to, because you can just, in a week or two, you're going to notice your clothes are getting looser around the waist, all around, and
you know,
like
you
this.
can measure everywhere. We have people measuring their chins,
Yeah.
measuring their wrists, their
everything.
forearms.
Well,
their-
because some people have like they
They're
have
problem areas.
Yeah, problem
ankles,
areas, yeah.
Ankles, you
Mhm.
know, some people have ankle issues. They're heavier in the ankles.
But the reason why we wanted to do this segment of Did You Know That is because when you mess around with diets,
Yes, it's very
You're-
dangerous.
you might as well go take a 45.
And you know what else happens that they don't even mention in here either, but I guess that's another study, is inflammation.
Right.
You know, if you're going to starve yourself with calorie restriction and you're uncomfortable, in the Ayurvedic approach to health, they don't want you ever to starve because you generate heat in your body, and that they call it pitta. And I used to do that when I was in serious practice on call for babies, and had 2 practices on call for babies, and I didn't eat much at all, and I got in big trouble, and my body got so hot that I got very ill. But in the Ayurvedic culture, approach, you're never to starve yourself, and when you do that, you're creating inflammation, you're creating heat.
The problem is many people say, well, I just didn't have time to eat. Well, I don't know if I can do flush your fat, because the thing is, I have to, of course, we do food combining, we do low glycemic eating, we put you into nutritional ketosis at first. And the thing is, we have a thing called the 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance. And that goes along with everything in your life. So the habitual ritual that we put you guys through.
I want to show you something.
What? What are we looking at? Oh, okay. The habitual ritual that we put you through.
Here's the protein bread.
Okay.
We have a protein bread.
Yeah.
And just in case I got hungry, I put it in this little baggie, a little slice. I just made it, and it's got walnuts and the eggs, and
You
it's all over the table now.
He's
And-
gonna kill us.
But I just wanted to show you, proper planning prevents poor performance. And if you're hungry, you can always drink your cran flush, or water.
Many times you think you're hungry, but you're not. You're thirsty.
Yeah. So, I'm ready to go. We're going to
So
share this
is
on the
good.
way.
Okay.
back.
But what I was going to say is the habitual ritual that we put you guys through carries over into your other parts of your life.
Right.
Right. You're getting ready to leave for work. Do you have your keys, your wallet, your coat? What am I going to miss?
Right.
Did I bring my paperwork? If you're going
Right.
to school, the habitual ritual for how to feed yourself, but also if you're leaving the house, bring some food with you. It's
Yep,
really
always.
important. So if you say, well, I
Always.
don't know if I can, eat all that food. Well, why not? Because if you have a little Tupperware of goat yogurt and nuts in there, if you have this little protein bar, which
That goes a long way. That
this
little
is not a
slice.
protein bar. It's we call it a protein
Protein
nut
bread.
Yeah.
It's egg
and
and
nuts.
it's
and-
in the room. If
Yeah.
you'd like to come into the Facebook room, request to join. Okay, and you can see
there's-
all this stuff.
And this is not to be eaten every single day. It's a little snack for when you're out and your blood sugar is
Right.
dropping. You do not want to let that blood sugar drop. Okay.
And the key is you don't want to let your blood sugar drop and get too hungry, because the protein, you've got to keep your protein going. You got to keep the protein levels up. And once you're digesting, you're gonna know what I mean. You're gonna have to eat something,
Right.
because you know that there's like this alarm that goes off in your head. I have to eat something.
Yeah.
And the brain is telling you.
Yeah, and you can feel your stomach emptying.
Yes.
You can really.
You
after
can
a
tell
while,
time.
Yeah. Look at us. So let me run by this one more time, because on our website, if you want to know as much as you can to survive and help yourself or help others, or to be a coach so that you can help other people in a professional way, then we recommend that you look at our website. We want you to buy the book. We want you to understand the philosophy and all of this information.
You will love the book.
Also, we want you to get the workbook and go through it, okay? Once you start this lifestyle, you'll have charts, you'll have a grocery list, you'll get, phase 1 is with the essential fatty acids that we require you to be on, GLA, which is gamma-linolenic acid.
For rapid fat loss.
Yeah, CLA, conjugated linoleic acid. Okay, this is, both of these instigate rapid, safe fat loss.
And they're essential, meaning you don't get them in your diet.
Right.
You have to get them in your diet. Your body doesn't make them.
Starter Kit 1 has all the charts in the workbook plus the CLA, GLA. Starter Kit 2 has everything but the CLA, GLA. Then we have in the storefront, in the store tab, you can see our coaching course. And really, knowledge is power. And, I have seen things with 3 kids and staying healthy and us working as much as we have in this field. It's really good to stay abreast of the things that are out there all the time, because knowledge is powerful and it helps you to move forward and make better decisions. As you get older, there's going to be situations that you might have to really dig deep and find out, oh my God, something just happened, what do I do? Oh my God, my kid is sick, my aunt's not well, something just came up with me, I gotta go to the doctor. You want to know as much knowledge as possible to keep yourself lean and healthy for life.
Yeah.
So the coaching course
it ensures your success is really what it does. And the other thing is on the website is it's fun to watch the videos, because you'll see our staple foods.
Right.
You can rent the videos per day.
I was going to say that, but you have to be a VIP member.
No, you don't.
You can rent them on.
You can rent them.
If you're a gold member, you can rent them. But I recommend that you first become a VIP so that you can see the videos that you like and the ones that you want to go back and rent. The VIP, we have 23 videos plus over 100 audios, which, by the way, our Power 100 call, the last several of them should be posted up because I really like those. On Wednesday,
we do post from time to time new ones.
Right. On Wednesday, we do what's called a Power 100 Heroes call for anybody that's 100 plus pounds to lose are welcome on the call. However, people that are at 75, 80, 90, they know they're on their way and they need that help. It's a whole different situation when you're facing up to 100 pounds that you have to lose. This means you're going to be with us for a minimum of a year or longer. We have people that are 500, 600 pounds, and we love it because this is one of our ambitions, our missions, is to eradicate obesity around the world.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
And all our podcasts are on our YouTube station, Flush Your Fat for Good. So you can go there and subscribe so you get the latest one that we post.
So we hope you learned something today. Thank you so much for joining us. And just to let you know that we'll be back next week. And come to our Facebook room and ask to join so that we can meet with you.
We'd love to meet up with you and learn all about it.
Okay, God
Take
bless.
Care. Good night.
You're listening to Flush Your Fat for Good with Jackie and Dr. Vicky, only on LA Talk Radio.